Welcome back, everybody. We are working on a pretty rad car today, M4.
Nie jestem żaden tytan, mordo, raczej ze mnie Tytus. Apollo 440 bliżej mi do typa z klipu jak trzeba. Do korki mam w uszach, bo tu syfu gra ostatnio nie dokazuj. Nie popisuj, podpisów od nich nie chcę celebrować ich z głośników. Mogę siku na to zrobić, ciuki w dół, hiku, krzyku. Przenieś mnie do czasów starych bitów, szarych odbiorników. Boom bapu, big beatu, gdzieś cię biegałem po strychu, gdzie nie było.
Lars brought in this M4 to go ahead and install some SPL front lower control arms and tension rods. Front lower control arms. So I'm going to walk you through doing that. So join us along here. First things first, you want to jack the car up. Get the car jacked up. Get some jack stands under the car. Don't be working on a car without jack stands. That's just silly. Next step you're going to do is take off the wheels. You want to get the wheels out of your way. So undo your lug nuts, get the wheels out. And then we're going to go ahead and slide under the car here. And we need to get this skid plate out of the way, as well as some of these other plastic bits out of the way. So that'll be the next step. Just got a bunch of bolts under here. You need to take those apart. And then some of these little 8mm here. Get those all off, get that all out of the way, and then we're gonna roll into doing the actual arms and pulling the arms out. So as I mentioned, when you pull this skid plate out of the way, these ones holding the metal one in are a 16mm. And then you have a bunch of little 8mm that go around the perimeter of this skid plate. You're also going to get those removed. So this is what you should be seeing once you have that skid plate out of the way. Next step is going to be to pull these 8mm off here to get this plastic piece out of the way so that we can get to the lower control arm bolt. We are also going to be taking the tension rods, so you also need to make sure you have access to that. So we will be pulling this plastic component as well, just so we have access to both sides of this tension rod bolt. That's going to be our next steps. Now that we've got that plastic out of the way, we can actually get to this lower control arm bolt. So essentially what we need to do is we need to break this bolt loose, or this nut. It's 18mm on both sides. So you use a socket. If you have an a half-inch impact, you'll want to use that. This thing is on there with some pretty good torque. So if you don't have one, just make sure you have a big breaker bar or something that you can get some leverage to get this broken loose. Once you have that broken loose, you'll get that bolt out, you'll slide it out this way, and then this side of the control arm will be loose. Next step will be to undo this nut on this side. This is a 21mm nut. So you'll go ahead and loosen that nut up. Once you have that nut completely off, we will use a air hammer or a regular hammer to kind of hit on this right here, and then that will cause a vibration to allow this control arm to fall out of the steering knuckle itself. Okay, so you can see we were able to get this side out. We just tapped this with a hammer a bit, and this started to slide right out. And then you just wiggle this guy right on out, and there is your factory lower control arm. Next step's going to be we're going to pull this tension rod out as well. So we're going to have 18mm again on this side and this side. We're going to do the same as we did on the lower control arm, and then a 21mm here to get that to get this tension rod out. So same process for the lower control arm we're going to use on this this tension rod. We're going to get that out, and then we're going to install our SPL arms that we have. Okay, so we are working on getting the tension rod out. So we have to get this nut off, which is a 21mm. I tried to use my impact, but unfortunately the joint itself is spinning. So what we need to do is we need to take a T40 Torx, place it in the bottom side of the joint here, and then use a 21 millimeter wrench to loosen this nut off. The other thing you're going to need to do is take this 18 millimeter bolt out. To get this bolt out is really tight. You have this coolant hose coming in right here. I was able to use a 1/2 inch breaker bar with an 18 millimeter short socket to break it loose. I got that out of there, and then I went ahead and used a 3/8 with an 18 on it to get it the rest of the way out. Once you have that out, I believe once we get this off, we'll be able to kind of pivot this arm a little bit. Okay, so this bolt gave me a little bit of a hard time on this car. I ended up just undoing this hose real quickly, pulling it off real fast, getting the bolt out and the new one in with the arm and everything. I lost a little bit of coolant. We'll go ahead and fill that up and top it off. And then we went ahead and we installed it on the knuckle side of the car. So it'll go bolt in. We have two little spacers here. Trying to get it to focus. Yeah, you can see them there. Two little spacers, and then the big spacer that goes into the seat of the knuckle, and then a small washer and the nut on the bottom here. And then you'll tighten that down, and it says torque spec for that is 110 foot-pounds. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get the lower control arm set in. So I went ahead and I put the bolt in to hold this, and then next we're going to put in the bolt here that holds the control arm to the knuckle itself. So once you get these on, you'll get these all tightened down. You'll get your tension rod in there, get that all tightened down. We have sway bar end links as well, so went ahead and installed these in place. And then to like generally roughly set the alignment so that you can get down to alignment or anything, you'll want to just make sure you adjust this adjuster. It should be adjusting both sides, so make sure when you're adjusting this, like, you don't adjust it before you put it in and you only extend just one end of this. This turnbuckle here will adjust here and move this end outward as well, so make sure you're doing that. Get it roughed in. You might want to try to set toe a little bit depending on how far you're going to have to drive the car to get aligned. But that is the that's all the install, and then we're going to go ahead and put all the plastic stuff back on, and then run it down, get it aligned, and we'll be good to go.